Good morning.
Dobro jutro.
Yeah. My name is Micah, and I grew up here in this church. My parents still live in the house that I grew up in, and every time I come back and I'm up here in front, it's always very humbling because I feel like I'm still a high schooler, because that's when I was here, and I think, what do I have to say? What do I have to offer? But we just hope that this morning, as we share about our life in Bosnia-Herzegovina and what we're learning and what we're experiencing, will be a blessing to you in Greenleaf and whatever community you're a part of, wherever you live here in Idaho.
I would also like to say good morning, church. Good morning, sisters and brothers, everyone. It feels like we are quite often here, but the last time we spoke was 3 years ago, and today we are again privileged to be able to just stand up and upgrade on this beautiful worship and time before. So thank you, Jackie, for leading us this. Part of this worship today was really the attitude of thankfulness, and it does not happen this naturally to us. Somebody has mostly like, okay, to be thankful for things, but for most people, it's really not that easy to be thankful. That's the trait we have to learn. And so every morning when you wake up, there is things we can say, yeah, we are thankful, God, for everything you gave us today. Just before the service, I shared with Kenny, slow think like we are like computers. The more we restart, the better it gets. And so we have so much junk like this cache and all that needs to be cleaned up. And once we cleaned up, we function better. And this is something great. One Japanese saying, which I shared with our Japanese friends, says that trees each season loses its leaves, but it still stays vertical. And then the next season when it comes, it grows again. And so this is also our thankfulness, to be thankful when even crisis hits, which reminds us that lots of things are beyond our powers, that we still stay vertical with the Lord's strength and stay strong to walk forward until He calls us to come. So.
In the next slide, you'll see a picture of our family. So 2 of our girls are here, and our boy and third girl are at Children's Church. And I do have to apologize because the last Sunday we were here, he was a little wild, and I'm sorry. So Grandma took him to Children's Church, and his pockets, I hope, are not full of cookies this time when he arrives. So kids keep us humble. They keep us remembering that we are also people, that we also have areas that we can grow and learn from. So I'm growing and I'm learning in raising a boy. So as was mentioned, we live and we are serving in Bosnia-Herzegovina. And that is located behind the boot. So those of you who are interested in Italy, you can just look across the sea and you will be able to see us. We'll wave. And there is a term that I would like to introduce to you today that kind of started in this part of the world, and it is called balkanization. So let's go back to that slide, balkanization. I don't know if did we move it?
Yeah, there's definition.
There's a definition of balkanization. So this is your history lesson for today. Okay. Balkanization is the process involving the fragmentation of an area, a country, a region, into multiple and smaller hostile units. And we really want to put an emphasis on this word, hostile units. It is usually caused by differences in ethnicity, culture, religion, or it could be other factors such as politics or past grievances. And balkanization was first coined as the Ottoman Empire was falling apart and all these countries were forming. But if you would Google or look online for this word balkanization, at the beginning you're going to see the Ottoman Empire in this part of the world, but you're going to also see articles such as balkanization of Switzerland, balkanization in America. So it's a term that started in the Balkans, but is now seen, well, not now, since the beginning of the world, it is seen all over. Wherever there's a breakdown of a unit into smaller hostile units. Can you think of a family you know, a family unit as the kids grow up? Maybe the differences between children, the differences between brothers, sisters, causes hostile units even within a family. So this is a term that that we all know in different phases of life. But I want to use this word Balkanization as a frame for what we're sharing today because we feel it. We feel it very strongly in our lives and in the culture that we're working. And the map that's going to come up, it's a very short video, about 30 seconds, that shows the breakdown of the Ottoman Empire over a couple hundred years. And you can see it's going to start now. And you can see right in the middle, you're going to see Bosnia pop up. And towards the end of this video, you can see how many different colors are in this area of Bosnia. So all the countries are starting to divide up. And you can see how over the years, some lines kind of stay. Here we have Yugoslavia. Some of the lines kind of stay the same. But now you see how Yugoslavia starts breaking up into smaller places. There's Croatia. Now we have Bosnia right in the middle with like 3-4 colors. It's going to get fun now. We're having some war. And green, so green is the Bosnia-Herzegovina. And as all of this is breaking down around the Ottoman Empire, Bosnia is kind of in the middle. It's kind of like, you think of like a pressure cooker. Bosnia is the pressure cooker. And on the next slide, here's another humility thing. I'm being humble right now. We have a Bosnian in the room. Our friend Dennis is here. He lives in Boise. And so if you have questions about this, he's the guy that you need to talk to. These men lived through this. I just came later and am feeling some of this, but living through something and seeing it later is very different. And these two pictures that we have behind me are Bosnia, the majority ethnicity groups before the war, which happened in the early 1990s, and then after the war. And you can see how these three main groups, you have Serbs, you have Croats, and you have Bosniaks. And those three groups are kind of mixed up. They're all kind of living together. But then after the war, there's so much movement. And so the colors get stronger. It's no longer kind of like you're having neighbors that are all kind of mixed. Now it's like you have a city. Maybe there's a few minorities here, but mostly it's the cities are stronger in one ethnicity. And the mixture that took place before the war has changed because it's not safe. People having to leave their villages, people having to leave their home cities. Zoran's family is such a good example of this. In 1992, war breaks out. Some say we're staying, it's going to pass. Some saying we're out of here. Out of a family on his father's side of 6 brothers and sisters, on his mother's side, 4 brothers and sisters, he is the only, I'm going to cry, he is the only one left in the country. Because it's not, because of where they were, it wasn't safe. And we have Dennis, he's here. Maybe he chose to, maybe he wanted to, but there are so many stories people leave because they didn't have a choice. And as the differences have become so strong in these areas, you have groups now that are just more nationalistic and stronger because they've dealt with things in their past that have made them stronger. And Zoran's going to share a little bit about this social consciousness, group consciousness.
So for us to be able to be functional, to be successful, we had to kind of think through how do we understand place where we are. And I'm going to have some first like dry theory, and then I will go to the fun part, like stories. So we'll stay still on this map. The term, what I want to do today, and it can be applied also in this area and everywhere, it's very universal. It's called collective consciousness, and I will have to read in English because I can't memorize all this. Is a fundamental sociological concept that refers to the set of shared beliefs, ideas, attitudes, and knowledge that are common to a social group or society. So what does this really mean? It means that collective consciousness, whatever is one thinking of one area, it's kind of the boss. That's the way you go. So in that sense, it informs our sense of belonging and identity and our behavior. So how do we behave? It's the last dot of all this picture. And so what did we do there? We tried a couple things to see how do we talk, how do we even think about Christ, how do we reach people. Lots of people are in their own bubbles. And so, through this collective consciousness, now we'll see on the different slide, it's that values, these beliefs and traditions can be passed down through the generations. So you can see, Maya mentioned, I call her Maya, she's Micah, but I call her Maya.
Can I just tell a quick story? Micah means mother in Bosnian, so I go by Maya. My parents are babysitting a dog. Guess what the dog's name is? Maya. It's so confusing. So we have Maya, lots of Micahs and Mayas. Go ahead.
Simple. Life is simple. So understanding how do we reach, we tried many things, and some works, some don't, but it was important to kind of put things on its way and to understand, well, sometimes we would just find ourselves discouraged because, God, why we are even here? Nothing works. And some days we'll be encouraged, like to be like rocking of the, like, wow, God, this is really good. In a little bit, we'll share what we do more about ministry, but I'll stay just a little bit more on this. So, collective consciousness, this is result in place where we live. Our majority is on that map, if you remember. Our minority and ethnic group is Croatians that are affiliated with Roman Catholicism. And so, they decided that through many times, many years, they will stay firm in what they believe. And you know that we had Ottoman Empire attacking, they were able to defend and not be changed. We have Austrians, we have First World War, Second World War, and it was not easy because they have lots of bloodshed among the other ethnic groups, between Rome Orthodox and etc., etc. And because of that, their fear was if they change, then they will lose their autonomy, their collective consciousness will evaporate, and so after that their identity will go away. And so I think in that moment when we try to approach them, the problem is that they see ourselves as insiders, those who preserve the tradition, the culture, who preserves customs, who preserves the right way of doing things, and we see us outsiders. So I'm outsider in my own country, in my own, like imagine if you go from here to California, would you be outsider there? Probably yes. Well, I didn't know that before, so when we moved I live in center Bosnia, so we moved to south. Some friends told me like, this is like the hard walnut, you're gonna challenge. I said, it's okay, I like people. So when we went there, I had cultural shock. Like it's not, the language we speak, it's quite a bit the same. They use more different words, but it's mostly the same. It is about how they keep their culture, it's about connections, it's about just being friendly. And that's not there as much unless you're part of family or something. So I try to understand like what is wrong with me, but it's nothing wrong. It's just different values which I needed to learn through and to understand this collective consciousness term. So what was our challenge? The challenge was how do we serve the best? Because I don't want to waste my time somewhere where I do not like to be if God is not sending me there. Where people like hostile and don't like you, like why am I doing here? So our challenge was how do we serve the best in this given context? And I will share a little bit. I think I did my part now. One more term on next slide. It's the one that kind of connects on this is the term of de-individualization. De-individualization. Can you say in English? De-individualization. Yeah. So what it means, like imagine when you have Halloween, you have people that they put like a costume on themselves. And so being part of a bigger group, they're not anymore person who they are, but they are like that costume, that persona, and they go around asking for candies and whatever. Or imagine yourself being at some big sport game, like, I don't know, you have football here, so everybody likes certain team, and then when you are part of big crowd, you kind of are lost there. And so the process, what I'm telling is, like, the more you are de-individualized, the more you lose your identity, becoming part of group, and you kind of lose your creative thinking, what's right, what's wrong. It's kind of like toward brainwashing. And so the only way how to help this is like to kind of cut the circle and then help people understand, well, do not go this way, do not follow the national leader, do not follow the bad rhetorics, do not follow the road to nowhere, but start thinking, do not become just part of the crowd because you feel safe, you enjoy this, and it's easier. Sometimes you have to not do easier things, sometimes you really need to do harder stuff. And so it was for us challenge, like to help people understand that they're okay to think more, they're okay to expand their horizons, they're okay to just understand more about bigger picture. It's not just to live in this one bubble of Regia where it's only one way or no way.
So we've thrown a lot of words at you, balkanization and this consciousness and this de-individualization. And I think sometimes these words and these ideas and just feeling this friction can really feel like a weight, can really feel like it's like pulling you down, like it's such a mess. There's such a mess. What in the world can we do? Like, what, is it even worth it? Is it even worth it? And a few months ago, I was teaching Sunday school, and God really laid the story that we were reading, just laid it on my heart as an encouragement. And it comes out of Acts 18, which isn't that a coincidence? Because you guys are reading through Acts. If you're reading through the Bible with the church group, you're in Acts right now. And I'm pretty sure chapter 18 is right where you guys are at. And this is the chapter God gave me a few months ago about Apollos. And we have these missionaries kind of being sent out, going out. And through Acts, you see situations where these missionaries are encountering people that are already on this spiritual journey, already searching, already looking for more, and then they meet these missionaries that can teach them more. So let's read in Acts chapter 18, verse 24. I'm just going to read 24 and 25, 26. Meanwhile, a Jew named Apollos, a native of Alexandria, came to Ephesus. He was a learned man with a thorough knowledge of the scriptures. He had been instructed in the way of the Lord, and he spoke with great fervor and taught about Jesus accurately. Though he knew only the baptism of John, he began to speak boldly in the synagogue. When Priscilla and Aquila heard him, they invited him to their home and explained to him the way of God more adequately. And then you see that Apollo takes what he learned and he goes and he teaches that. And when I read that, I thought, oh, it's kind of a relief. It's like, I don't have to change everything, but I do need to have these conversations like Priscilla and Aquila with Apollos that help encourage, that help take that next step. And it's when I think about, I have been 14 years in Bosnia. If I could tell you a story about a life being saved, I don't know. I don't think I can. But I can tell you of conversations that I've had that I know really touch people's hearts. And who knows what those conversations are going to do, but those are the conversations I can have. And reading this verse and teaching it with my kids, it was like just that kind of pat on the back saying, this is what I have for you. Take those steps with the people that are around you. Keep your eyes out for the people that are walking, for those things that are already going on. Get plugged in, get involved with them, and take those next steps with them. And the danger to this is that you just kind of walk along with those people and you never have the conversations. I have one friend, Tina. We have a good friendship. We talk about spiritual things, but it's easy for me just to keep it at that and not to go deeper and not to kind of probe a little bit more when I know I should. You know, that thought's like, I should mention this. Mom was over at our house last year, and Tina came over, and she, through this conversation, says, "Can I pray with you?" And Tina's in tears. She has some family things going on. She's in tears, and Mom's praying for her. I don't think Tina understood anything my mom said. She's in tears. She didn't need to know what my mom was saying. And I thought, how many opportunities have I missed not to say, "Can I pray for you?" And she wanted it, and she needed it, and she was ready, and I haven't taken those steps when I needed to. And so we have this balance and this kind of this tension, walking alongside of people, but also speaking up when we need to speak up, and saying things when we need to say it, and praying for people when we know that they need it. And so I feel like I'm really living in that tension, and that's not something that's like, this is how it always is, it's always like this. Every situation is different, and you just have to have those eyes to see and the ears to hear. And so he's kind of our front man in Bosnia. Me and the kids, we do school, we do dance, those activities, we have our friendships, but Zoran's our like ministry front man. So he's going to share about how he does that out in ministry as well.
So let's turn to the next slide. You know, lots of pictures here, and this is the last season we did it, and this is the attempts of trying for us to understand how do we really serve what we serve. On a picture left is something fresh from last September and later. We started to help with worship in our church. Also Maya preaches, I preach there, and so we're trying to bless the church already there with our giftings. And so this is one of the services we do. Part of that is trying to get another worship leaders. I believe that through worship, I know through many other ways you can do, but I believe that there is worship, something that really special occurs where people respond deeply moved to God and they hear from God. And so our church is a little closed, like there is some willings to go out, but they really don't do that as much. And so our attempt is to bring more worship leaders, and to kind of open up and go out, which we do in different projects. Picture above on total, on mine it's right, on yours is right too. It's one of those psychological workshops. We're trying 3+ years, this is now almost 4 years, we are serving there. Just opening free workshop, psychological workshops like anxiety, depression, border disorders, and now we go more into gambling, addictions, whatever is a good theme so people will learn. Lots of them come, attend, and we are using also other psychotherapists, psychologists to come to share, and mostly this is secular, but through this we want to show this genuine compassion to local community that somebody care, like really want to come and to just bless people, and looking for also personal peace inside these people so we can share more with these people. After workshop, usually we go sit in cafe and then have kind of deeper talks. Sometimes people just kind of pour out, and it's really those precious moments. We'll continue to do also the same. What is also new is this middle picture here is like adults are dancing, like imagine that. But the least is dancing, the more is social time, relaxing, and I would say this restarting where we need to be with each human. Like in this time, more and more people use screens and they're kind of further and further apart from each other. I don't know if you read that book from Divorce. The Great Divorce. The Great Divorce, you know, when people, whoever ends on some kind of hell, kind of like to be as far as they can from their neighbors because they don't like to have conflict. And so there is like ultimate, like total space between them so you can't reach. And I think it's slowly happening there that more like individualization is happening so that families and groups are like less. So with this kind of social activities, we want people be people, so let's connect. And very often we sit in cafes or we go somewhere to a restaurant and we eat food, we talk, and people really like that. So dancing is just like ice tip. The very left, very right on corner, I integrate like premarital and first dance. So while they do first dance, I help them to get in fight, and I help them reconcile. So I know in marriage, like I ask them, like, do you ever get in fight? No. We how long you have been dating? Like 5 years. So you never got in fight? No. What do you do when you don't like each other? No, we love each other. We all, sure. And so through this dance, I make them, usually women picks up faster and they know what they like it's no problem, and they know where they want to be. And the guys are kind of slower and they catch up slowly. They usually needs to sleep one time, and the next session they're like, okay. But in that first session, it's where it gets really tense. And so that's where, you can see it bride, like she gets red cheeks and she gets like a little irritated by why he can do something. And then it always ends up like happy ever after, I hope, to me. Well, at least their dance is good.
Yeah.
But to me, it's like challenge. Well, God, you gave me this couple. Sometimes they came a couple times now. I just narrowed down on one time. They come, they're done. Like they stay maybe 2-3 hours. And in that time, it's privileged, like to get to know them, to share, to hear, to listen to their hearts, and to just hear what they want and how they want. And so through this opportunity, we stay connected, and then you never know. One of the things we do, but we don't see maybe results, is just continue the sowing, talking, and being unique in our. We don't want to pretend like, okay, I'm something what I'm not. Like it doesn't help. You have to be who you are, authentic. Speak with people. Maybe they will not like it what you hear today, but you don't never know. Maybe a couple of years after they will come say, I remember you told me this. Now I would like to hear more. Mm-hmm. And so there is this power of sowing without knowing for the consequence.
Just think back to that map that we had of Bosnia and all those strong, bold colors that keep people separated. There was a team from EFM, Evangelical Friends Missions, that came as a vision trip right before we came here. And they came out to our house on a Sunday afternoon, and we had a nice time together and really were able to share with them about what we do, but also the region in general. And Janelle, who was leading the trip, said, well, what have you seen that works? And I'm like, I don't know. I don't know what works. They're just getting ready to come to the Balkans. And they have that excitement, they have that drive, and they just want to know what works. Only Jesus' blood works, only that. I don't know, folks. Like, we have seen so many people come and go. Zoran grew up in Bosnia. He became a believer through missionaries. But he has seen so much junk. We don't know, but we aren't alone. And we have Christ, and he leads us and he guides us, and he has given us the promise of one more word for you, Balkanciliation. And Balkanciliation is a made-up word. You're not going to find it probably on the internet, but this idea of healing, this idea that we can be who we are and yet united in Christ. We're not talking about taking Bosnia and making it all a muddy green color. We're talking about like stained glass window. Each of us, as God made us, in our ethnic groups, in our nationalities, praising God, living for God. And this is a picture from a camp that's in Bosnia. And this happened 2 weeks ago. It's a prayer camp, and they have it every year. And this is a representation of people from all over Bosnia, all different ethnic groups, coming together, praying for healing, praying for forgiveness, praying for restoration. And there is no one that doesn't want that in their life. There is no one who doesn't want that peace that comes. They might not want the way that Jesus brings it, but no one likes to live in animosity and hostility. And we're just going to close right now praying together for Balkanciliation, not just for Bosnia-Herzegovina, not just for our community there, but for for each of us and in the communities that we live. In polarized USA, we're going to pray for the restoration that can come through Christ. I do want to share one more story, though. When I think about this, Jonelle asking me what works, I don't know what works, but I do know people that have made a difference. And there is a missionary from Albania, him and his family, who've moved to Bosnia. And he works with the Baptist church. He's not from a Baptist background, but in this town, the Baptists had some stuff going, and he said, this is the town I want to be, and I'll work with whoever's here. And so he's working with the Baptists from a different background. He goes to the different denomination prayer nights. He's preaching at different churches as it's needed. My car broke down half an hour, not even half an hour, 10 minutes from his house, which is an hour and a half from our house. Zoran called him. He picked up me and the girls and drove us an hour and a half home. That works. That is a man who is gone where God has called him and plugs in to what is going on. He doesn't care what group he's working with. He doesn't care who his neighbor is. He serves them. And he's looking for ways to serve, and he's ready to serve. And as he drove me home that night, he shared his testimony. And I thought, I want to be Feastnik. I want to be him, just ready to jump in, humble and committed. And when we have that attitude of being humble, being committed, keeping our eyes open and our ears tuned in to God's leading, he will use us. And we're going to pray Isaiah 30, verse 22. And actually, Zoran's going to pray, but just to have this ear to hear, because God will lead us. When we make a wrong step, the whisper is there. Turn this way, walk in it. Go ahead. Do you want me to find it? I should have had a bookmark in there, sorry. The Lord will cause men to hear his majestic voice and will make them see his arm coming down with raging anger and consuming fire. That's not the right verse. 30:21. Here it is. Whether you turn to the right or to the left, your ears will hear a voice behind you saying, this is the way, walk in it.
Heavenly Father, thank you just that through your providence, through your grace, we are alive. We are here to be functional, to be fruitful, but still to enjoy life. We are called to everlasting joy, and sometimes we don't meet this. And God, it's not up to you, it's up to us. So I pray, give us a way to be very fruitful in the opportunity you give us in your ministry, in process of Balkanization that is all over the world, in the process of Balkanciliation to understand how to reconcile, and in the process of just being authentic, to be able to reach your neighbor, to be able to just do mission, which you gave us in Grand Commands, God. So I pray for encouragement for each, that we serve first our families and our neighbor, and not because what we can, but because what he did and what he's able to do more. And because of his command, go and make every nation my follower. In Jesus' name, amen.